of my thoughts on the Fed continuing to raise rates. It's kind of impressive that they're actually following through and continuing to raise rates like this, knowing what they're about to cause. That's what's crazy to me. It's like they're constantly pouring more and more gasoline on the fire, and really it's just going to take a tiny spark for it to light and just keep pouring more and more and more and more. And it's like, Jerome, how far you think you can push this thing here? The housing markets was already really, really high. I know it's pulled back a bit, but all my friends, my clients and stuff that are in the real estate market have been telling me that, we all expect it to go down much further. The only reason that people are getting into real estate now is so that they can secure a fixed rate before they continue to raise rates even further. Some people that I really admire and respect, like Patrick Bet David, has been talking about this over on his channel on Valuetainment. I'm actually a big fan of that channel and Patrick, and he talks about this a lot, about how he thinks that they could get it up to 10%. They could keep going like this, and it used to be like that, and he's right. And so I have on the screen over here right now, I was looking at the DXY before going in on this video, but I wanted to first talk a little bit about this rate hike and what I think why it's causing this time around. What's interesting is a few of the rate hikes, it caused the dollar to go up, like it was going to be strengthening the dollar by doing these rate hikes. Now the market didn't enjoy it the same way. And when I say the market, I'm specifically talking about the dollar, the DXY here. Let me pull this chart a little closer on the 5-day, and you can see right when Powell decided to continue to raise rates, it tanked the dollar down pretty good. I mean, when I say tanked, I mean it has a lot of room to fall. Don't get me wrong. If we pull this chart back, to the 6 month, you can see that the dollar has a lot of room to fall. But what did we see in precious metals? When you see the dollar fall back a couple bucks, you saw silver jump and you saw gold jump pretty dramatically on Friday. If we go to the 5-day here, you can see, I mean, it had a strong day from the bottom in a little bit under 19 on the 3rd, and then all the way up to 20 and 50 cents, giving back a little bit of the gain so far at the open today. So it's actually held quite a bit. It was up about a little bit over 7% on Friday for silver, and we're seeing silver holding pretty strong, only giving back. I expected it to give back a little bit, but it's actually not giving back much at all. It's only giving back 30 cents so far of that gain, so holding pretty strong here. The DXY, though, what was interesting is, again, in the past, we all study the DXY. If you've been a follower of the channel, if you've been a subscriber here, we all talk about in these live feeds about how the DXY is so correlated to precious metals, because when the DXY goes down, metals go up. When the DXY goes up, metals go down. It happens pretty textbook. And what's interesting is every single time Powell has raised rates, I don't want to say every time, but most of the times, it appears like the dollar is getting stronger because of it. Like the dollar, people responded to Powell raising the rates, and they went, okay, the dollar is getting stronger now, so let's go into the dollar. They're taking care of things over there. And now this time around, they're like, whoa, you're pushing it a little too far there, Powell. Pushing it a little too far there. Now, I don't know if we want to be in dollars anymore. Now, what's interesting is on top of all of this happening right now, in addition to that, you have more development going on with these BRICS nations here. And what's interesting to me is when you start studying the BRICS situation going on, they don't talk about it in the same way. Like one of the questions here, when I just Googled it, it says, is BRICS similar to NATO? And it says, compared to NATO, which is a military alliance, BRICS is an economic and political alignment of forces. Specifically an economic and political alignment of forces. So it's kind of scary to see that these countries going together are, it's a pretty powerful bunch there going together, and they're all pretty much going up against the dollar in a sense. They're probably all of them here in unison don't want the dollar to be the reserve currency of the future anymore. And at the same time, Powell is playing with fire over there, which is very interesting to see this all develop. And that's why I want to bring up the BRICS nation situation here as well. In addition to what Powell just did, is he raised it another 75 basis points, which brings it up to about 3.75%. So let's pull up the federal funds effective rate, and you can just see they were kind of tinkering with it before, everything in 2020. They were just slowly raising it up, and this time around they're just like, shoot the Fed fund rate all the way up as much as we can. and they just jumped it up from zero, pretty much zero, all the way up to over 3% now. I think right now it's at 3.08, but they just added another 75 basis points. So that's going to bring it up to that 3.75, a little bit over 3.75. And they're talking about also, he's being very clear that he wants to bring it up over 4%. Now, the more they continue to raise this, again, we've never seen them raise rates and not cause a recession afterwards. This is the 2009 recession. They were raising rates, and then you had the housing bubble and the crash of 2009, the last big recession that we had. I've talked about this a lot on the channel. Every time they raise rates, there's a recession that follows right after. You usually see the rates raise and then the recession. This was that small period of recession. Back when we used to go by what the real definition of recession was, actually, they show the gray period right there. How come they're not showing the gray period? What's going on? They showed the gray period there when it was a couple months. How come? Where's the gray period now? What's going on there? We're in a recession right now. This is ridiculous. They don't show it. They're raising rates into a recession. You never see them raising rates into a recession. You never see in these gray periods here. Do you see them raising rates in the middle of this gray period here when we're in a recession? If we're being honest, the gray period is like right here, and they're continuing to raise rates while we're in a recession. So, yeah, there's that. Back to the charts over here. It's interesting to me to see that the DXY crashed pretty hard on the news of them raising the rates because they've been responding to it in a positive way, and now they're going to continue to raise rates. And so what's interesting in the way this is all unfolding is there's not many places to put your dollar. If you don't trust the dollar, if you want to bet against the dollar, what are your options? If you don't want to leave your money in a bank account, and you don't really trust the bank's solvency, or you don't want them to have custody of your money, what are your options? Where are you going to put your money? You're going to go into real estate when they're continuing to raise rates and continuing to mess with that market? I don't really want to be in real estate right now, personally. Where are you going to put that money? That's what I think is happening right now, and that's why I think we saw such a sharp spike on gold and silver, because it's really a steal right now. Gold and silver is ridiculously low for how much the world needs it right now. The world needs to have custody of their assets. Everybody, like when you look around the world, in the U.S., we're spoiled over here because we don't actually feel it yet. When you look at like what's happening in Turkey, you look at what's happening in other places in the world where people are literally robbing their own banks to get their own money back and then turning themselves in because they just needed to get their money out of the bank because the bank wasn't solvent to give them their money. We haven't really felt that yet in the States, but we might, So what I think is happening is it's like, in 2009, what happened to Lehman Brothers? Not all of them got bailed out. Some of them had to, go belly up, and just everyone lost their money. So that's what I'm looking at right now. It's like, okay, well, if the options are, do I either keep my dollars in a bank or I buy into an overvalued real estate market that the Fed is continuing to tamper with, what exactly am I going to do? So that's why I find it the whole scenario, everything is playing out as this perfect storm for precious metals. And what's funny to me is I think that, so let me pull back the 5-day chart on gold. Again, market opens, if you don't know, with precious metals, most of us know, market opens on Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, or if you're on the East Coast, 6 p.m. on the East Coast, and the market is open right now. So we're seeing it starting to move a little bit. But if we pull back a little bit here, this is about the little bit over the week chart. You can see that gold for gold to jump 50, 60 points in a day, that's pretty heavy. That's a pretty sharp movement based off of what happened with Powell. Powell raises the rates, the dollar tanks another $2, and then we see a 50-point jump if the dollar tanked $2. What happens when the dollar tanks $10? What happens when the dollar goes down to 100 from 110? If gold went up 50 points off of a 2-point fall on the DXY, what happens if it falls further? Sure has a lot of room to fall. If you look at the DXY and we pull up the 1 year on the DXY, it sure looks like, that little jump of $2 right there doesn't look too serious when you pull it back a year. You pull the DXY back down a year, it went down at 90. The DXY was at 90 in January of 21. So is it really a long shot with all the stuff going on in the world today, with BRICS continuing to develop, other countries not really wanting the dollar to be the reserve currency, the Fed continuing to tinker with the dollar and continue to tinker with the U.S. economy? They're poking the bear. They continue to poke and act all, pompous. And to me, the dollar looks extremely overvalued. I wouldn't want to bet on the dollar. Would you want to bet for this to go continuously to continue that trajectory? I don't. I think it's going to pull back. And when it does pull back, what is a bet against the dollar? Gold and silver. That is your hedge against the dollar. If you want to hedge from the dollar tanking and you have a bunch of dollars in the bank, not only do you get a hedge against the dollar, but then you actually have custody of your assets, which is something that I think is going to be a lot more. I mean, I think people already are realizing how important custody is, but I just deal with some bankers for a while. Go deal with some bankers for a while. I'll tell you what, with my auction house, ironically, I'm doing this live feed probably at a bad time. Probably at a bad time to do this live feed, but I just felt like going live to talk about this as I'm sitting here by my computer because I actually have a bunch of auctions ending right now on Mineral Exchange. But to me, I feel like there's more and more people that are going to want to get custody of their assets and actually hold their money. They don't want to give the bank the power. And the one problem that I have with specifically, you'd think that it's like, okay, well, running a business, the hard part's going to be the marketing. The hard part's going to be, the photography, the shipping, all these things. And these things are annoying. Don't get me wrong. They're annoying. But nothing, I promise you, nothing is as annoying as accepting payments. That is the most annoying thing. Of all the things that I've had to deal with my auction house, accepting payments, getting money to move from one hand to another hand is the hardest thing ever. We live in a day and age where we can have a wireless earbud in our ear where we could tap it twice and call anybody in the world if we want. But we can't figure out payments. We can't figure out how to move money from this wallet to that wallet without losing 3%, 2%, whatever it is. And even when you do that, it's not even foolproof. It's like, it's insane to me how hard it is to move money around. The only thing that has given me no problems is like deluxe these e-checks that we use on Mineral Exchange, and to the point like it's gotten so bad that I've decided we're no longer accepting mailed checks, no longer accepting pretty much any payment gateway except wires and e-checks. And if you want to use PayPal and lose 3.5%, that's up to you, But that's really, I've decided to just use the ones that work because it's that bad. The payment gateways are that bad. It's hilarious to me. So when I talk about like custody and I talk about people wanting to have ownership of their assets, when you deal with the banks on a day-to-day basis in the same way that I do, you understand how serious this problem really is. I don't want the banks to have a bunch of my money. I can barely send it. If I want to send it somewhere, it's like I have to go through so many different checks and balances. It's ridiculous. If you want to buy something with it's insane what you have to deal with these banks. And the fact that they can't come up with a better system than wire transfers is unbelievable to me. Anyway, it's crazy. And that's where like the Bitcoin comes into play. Bitcoin's actually doing pretty decent. It's starting to pop back up over 20,000. And what's funny to me, here's some insight that I'm going to share with my audience that I think not enough people talk about is everybody in precious metals seems to, not everybody. I'm one of the individuals that likes both. A lot of people like both, actually. So I shouldn't say everybody. I think a majority of them, majority of people understand both. But there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of the Peter Schiffs out there that want to bash on Bitcoin. A lot of people from Bitcoin that want to bash on Peter. And there's a lot of, back and forth going on. But what's interesting to me is both of them are a bet against the dollar. If Bitcoin succeeds, the dollar would tank. And when the dollar tanks, gold and silver would skyrocket. If gold and silver succeed, the dollar would tank. The dollar tanks, Bitcoin would skyrocket. It's like, is this not a dual hedge against the dollar here, guys? You're going in the same direction. The boat is going in the same direction. Why are you hitting? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But that's kind of how I look at it myself. And so, what do we see? Just to prove the point, I mean, we go to the last 5 days. What happened with Bitcoin when the dollar fell $2? Dollar falls $2. Bitcoin jumps up from 20,000, a little bit under 20,000-ish, somewhere in that range, up to 21,000. Now it's giving back a little bit of it as the dollar is going back up a little bit. It's like a perfect trajectory. Dollar goes down, Bitcoin goes up. Now it's down a little bit because the dollar's up a little bit. It's really that simple. And we see the same thing happening with silver, up and then down a little bit. Same thing with gold, up and then down a little bit. It's like this is the same hedge. So do you want a digital hedge? Because you don't have digital gold and silver. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Why do I own an auction house? Why do I own Mineral Exchange? Because I believe in holding the real asset. I believe people should be able to buy and sell the real asset and have the real asset in their hands. Not some glorified ETF, not some anything like that, not somebody else giving you a blockchain-based gold or whatever, actually holding the real thing in your hands. If you don't actually have, if you go, ironically, this is being auctioned like right now. But if you don't have the brick of silver in your hands, this thing is a nice, if anybody pledging out there, anybody in college doing their pledge thing, fell for a scam if you're in college. But if you are, this makes a nice paddle here. You could get an investment. You got the paddle at the same time. They don't make them the same as they used to. But this is a 100-ounce brick of silver here, right? And the truth is, it's like I have it in my hand. I didn't have to ask a banker to have, the $3,000 or whatever this bar is worth in my hand. I have it in my hand. It's here. I got it. So the custody problem is the biggest problem I see happening right now. And gold and silver, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So if I had $3,000 in SLV ETF or whatever, I don't really own the silver. TD Ameritrade or whoever my broker is or anything like that, they're the ones who own it, not me. So that's pretty much what I'm talking about when it comes to custody. Do you actually have the asset in your hand? Do you have to, or how many permissions do you need to ask to get your money? Just people need to start thinking in these terms. How many people do you need to ask to get your money? Say your money's in the stock market. Okay, it might look like you own it, but if you really want it, how do you have custody of it? Okay, first you got to go to whoever your brokerage is and hope that their app works that day. Got to hope that the app opens up, doesn't crash on you, because it can happen. Hope their phone lines work. Hope you can reach out to them, and hopefully they can sell it, right? Hopefully the market didn't crash 12% or whatever it is to trigger the circuit breakers and didn't halt the entire market so you can't sell it at all. But hopefully those two things work so you can get them to sell it and then put it into your bank account. But then you have to wire transfer, ACH it from them into your bank account. Then you got to hope that your bank is solvent enough for you to get that money from your bank. And then when you have the actual money, finally, you have to be able to spend it on something in that time. So it's like the level of permissions to get access to your money. If somebody doesn't have, silver bars or gold bars, or they don't have Bitcoin in cold storage, you don't really have custody. So you can't digitize precious metals. I know that a lot of people are saying they can. I don't believe in that. I believe in owning the real thing, having custody of it. I think if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's how I feel about it. With Bitcoin, I feel like it's the only way to digitally own something. So they're both a bet against the dollar, and they both can do things that the other can't. Gold and silver can't be digitized. Sorry to break it to people, including you, Peter, including you. I would call you out for that. Gold and silver can't be digitized because then you got to trust a custodian. We don't trust custodians. It's not a good idea. Vice versa. So anyway, we're seeing a perfect correlation. When the DXY fell down, that gold and silver went up. So that was kind of interesting to see that we saw that same correlation with Bitcoin. So that was kind of an interesting situation there. I see Bite Hunter gave me a super chat. It says, I can't watch now because I'm actually going to church in Chicago. I'll catch this video later. Have a good one. I appreciate that, Bite Hunter. Thank you. How cool is that? Gave me a $10 super chat and then said that they can't be in the live feed. I appreciate that. But yeah, it is a live stream on a Sunday. What's up, VT? How are you? Somebody said, what's up, Rob? What mic and cam do you use? Cheers. I literally looked up what is Joe Rogan's mic, and it was this one. It was like a Shure SB7 something. It's pretty easy to figure out what this mic is. That's that. We'll get to a few more comments over here. If you guys have any questions on the market and everything, it's kind of cool to do this while the market is actually open. Also, I mean, since we're in the middle of this live feed, I guess I could show you guys. It's probably not the best time to be doing this because my auctions end every Sunday. So if you don't know, I own Mineral Exchange. So if you want to know what my credentials are to be talking about precious metals, I own a auction house that auctions off precious metals every day. Not every day, but we upload on Mondays, and they end every Sunday. And right now they're actually ending. What's cool is when you start at the bottom of this page, for people that haven't used the site before, actually, this will be kind of cool to show you guys in real time because items are ending right now. Like this, I'm curious what that sold for. This Kilo Libertad. I've been throwing up a couple modern pieces here and there too, from time to time on the website. But let me show you guys to refresh this because a lot of these ended. Ironically, as I started this live stream, I realized I'm like, wait, auctions are ending as I'm in the middle of this live stream. Maybe people are going to be wanting to bid, and we're also doing a live stream. So if you have a browser, put Mineral Exchange on one browser and this one. If you're bidding, get them on both browsers. Don't watch me right now. Put me on one of the sides somewhere so you can keep bidding. All right. Sorry, this was bad time on my end, but at least people can watch. So what you'll see right here. So you see how these all ended. If I refresh the page right now, these will all disappear. And as you're watching the auctions in real time, they're all staggered. So they slowly disappeared. I actually incorporated that. It was one of the things that I wanted to do with my website. So if you refresh this, we can refresh it real quick. All those just disappeared, as you can see, and they're slowly dissolving from the bottom up. So this one is I specialize in kind of the minutes left. It's cool. You guys can actually watch it in real time with me right now. And then these handy harmons. If you guys watched that epic unboxing video that I did, like, what was this, about a week ago? A lot of these items are from that unboxing. So these are those handy harmon bars that are all toned out. But there's some crazy stuff on the block this week. These are literally all ending right now as we're in the middle of the live stream. So I'm kind of curious to see. And a lot of people are learning more about the vintage bar world. But check this out. That's serial number 30. To everybody that likes Engelhard bars and vintage bars, how often are you going to be able to find a serial number in the 2 digits? That's a pretty cool bar. That's a pretty cool bar. Super rare Engelhard 3 ounce. This bar is insane. This is a Johnson Matthey 6 ounce gold bar that I have on the block right now. And that one, this is ending in 1 hour and 22 minutes. And it's pretty much at melt right now. So somebody might get a screaming deal on that bar. I'm curious what that thing goes for, but that's a super cool bar. If you don't know about my auction house, so yeah, we're down to 20 now. So the first 30 of the 50, we're doing 50 this week, I believe. So the first 30 already sold. But if you guys were curious on how the auction house works, you can now see it in real time. So this one has a minute left. What's cool is if a bid comes in that last minute, it'll trigger the soft close, and then it'll jump 3 minutes more if a bid comes in that last. So you can't get sniped like on eBay. So there's a one-time soft close. If a bid comes in the last minute, it jumps at 3 more minutes so that you have time to actually get your bid in. And it looks like one just did come in right there. So let's see if it changed the timer on it. You have to refresh the page. But yeah, see how it jumped another 3 minutes right there? Literally, that's kind of cool that we could watch it in real time right now together. So people can see my auction house now in real time, and I stagger them a little bit. So this one, the soft close hasn't been triggered on this one, so you can see they're at the same interval right now. But if somebody does trigger the soft close, it'll bump it up 3 more minutes, and this one has 6 minutes left, 9 minutes, 12 minutes. These handy harmons are super cool. And what's cool is from the browser, a lot of people are on their iPhone, I've noticed, or on a cell phone when they're bidding, but it actually looks the best on the browser, in my opinion. You get 5 across, and unlike eBay, you can actually bid. This isn't an account that is signed in or anything like that, but if you make an account and you register to bid, you'll actually have a little bid button right here, so you can bid right from the catalog page, which no other auction houses are doing that. I kind of changed the game from the ability to bid from the catalog page like that, but really proud of this. So it's kind of cool to see them and as this ends, so when this one ends here, it'll just dissolve and go into the back end, and then you'll be able to see it in the auction archive over here. You'll be able to actually pull up the auction history, and if you had an account, you'd be able to log in and see that you can bid directly from this page. This is actually this bar right here, the bar right in front of me right now. That's the one on the website. So pretty cool. Someone made an account with Jacob Rothschild. That's pretty funny. Somebody in the comment section. Let me see here. But what's going to be cool is as it continues to grow, I'm going to add more and more modern stuff. I specialize in the vintage stuff, but last week I did a lot of regular modern stuff. So you can go to auction history, and it's kind of crazy that by December, definitely by December, we'll be over 1,000 auctions completed on Mineral Exchange. So all of the people that ever doubted me about owning my own auction house, that this idea would never work, I wouldn't be able to have an exchange for people to buy and sell gold and silver. Seems like it's working. Sorry, I got a little chip on my shoulder about that because a lot of people were I, anyway, it's kind of cool to see it unfold like this. But we had some really good deals last week. We had this was a 10 pack of vintage silver bars that went for $270 and plus the buyer's premium. So this was under $30 an ounce. I would personally rather have vintage bars than ASE or something like that for 35 each or whatever they're going for these days. I would rather have under 30 an ounce on vintage stuff. So a lot of really cool, regular kind of common stuff. We had some 1/20th Libertads that were sold last week. That went for a really good price. A lot of PAMPs and stuff like that as well. So we're starting to put a little bit of modern stuff up there as well to see how that does on the market. And a lot of good deals to be had. Been really fun. Anyway, you can see all the stuff that's sold by looking at the auction archive on mineralexchange.com. There should be a link in the description down there if you want to register and make an account. But I give away all that data for free. So if you want to see what is the market value of vintage 1 ounce pieces, you can actually kind of see some real data on what it really sold for with a no reserve auction. So with Mineral Exchange, everything is no reserve. Everything starts at zero with no reserve. So we find out what stuff is actually worth. That's my little advertisement of the video, but it's not actually an advertisement because I didn't pay myself anything to talk about it. But anyway, these are all ending in real time right now. So this bar just ended actually. So what you'll see is what's cool is as these bars end, you can actually click the refresh and you can see that it just ended and went into the back end right there. And you can see bidding closed. And you can see that what it just ended at. This one ended at 410. That ended at 280. This one's ending right now, coming up. And to those that don't understand, is these are vintage bars. So they go for a bigger premium because they're hard to find. They're rare bars. But then there's also people that can learn about this market as well and be on the hunt for these. And as you can see, this slowly will dissolve from the bottom up and work their way to these. I usually put the best pieces on the very top, and sometimes I sprinkle them around a little bit. But anyway, it's going to be interesting as it continues to grow. Let me see here. Dylan Charding said, Bite Hunter, you are a nice lady. If you swing by Wisconsin, I have a fat silver that's really cool. I want to show you. Christ is king. I appreciate both of you. They both gave me $10 to. One of them was saying that they couldn't be in the live stream. We're going to watch it later. And the other one is complimenting the other one. That's how cool our community is in here. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for that. That's really, really nice. How do you verify large bars? We have a Niton XRF machine that actually x-rays deep into the bar. It x-rays about an inch deep into a bar. So it's more than just, remember when you have a lot of people have those Veriscans, the Veriscan kind of wand thing where you put the wand on it. Remember, that's a verifier. That is not a tester. That is a verifier. A tester is either an XRF or an acid test. That's a test. But those little Veriscans, they work. They do a decent job. But they're verifying. It's not really testing the purity of that metal. It's kind of iffy. So I've seen those get fooled in the past if it's a thick gold bar with something in the middle of it or a thick silver bar with something in the middle of it. Personally, I believe that you should have an XRF, but they're pretty expensive. Those go for around $18,000, $20,000 for an XRF machine. But that's something that is nice about Mineral Exchange is you can rest assured that everything's guaranteed and tested here. I appreciate that. Someone says, looks great, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, make sure, if you're buying from somebody, whether it's, wherever you're buying your precious metals from, just make sure that they have something to lose. Make sure they have a big reputation or something like that, and they have something to lose themselves wherever you do get your precious metals from. Whether it's from me, whether it's from whatever retailer you want online, just make sure that they have a big reputation and they have something to lose if they sent you something that isn't what it is, and make sure they guarantee their product. That's what I would say. And there's some, sometimes you have somebody on social media or something like that. Just make sure that it's not some random account that could just disappear on you, because that's the scary part. And if you can't afford, a fancy XRF machine, or if you can't afford even the verifier machine or whatever, just make sure you have somebody with a reputation that has something to lose if you buy it from them. That's what I think is important. Tim in the house. What's up, Tim? Tim says, year to date, central banks bought 673 tons more than any other annual total since 1967. when the US dollar was still backed by gold. Thoughts? Year to date, central banks bought 673 tons, more than any other annual total since 1967, when the US dollar was still backed by gold. You're saying they bought 673 tons of gold, is what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, this is the BRICS nations that we were just talking about. I think it's foolish that there are some out there that are like so anti-gold or anti-silver, when you realize that it's like you can't deny that these central banks have been accumulating tons and tons and tons of gold. And it really does come down to, it's like, what's interesting to me, what scares me, is actually when I just showed this earlier we're just talking about the BRICS nations earlier in this podcast. But when it scares me is this picture specifically. This picture specifically is pretty wild to me. Seeing that picture with Brazil, you got China, Russia, Brazil, and this is what, if you don't know what BRICS stands for, when you hear that term BRICS nations, it is Brazil, Russia, China, India. India is a big one to have, by the way. They're like, you have China, who is basically probably, the best. Is the best at basically manufactures more than any other economy. Then you have Russia, that has all the rare earth minerals. Then you have Brazil, that is in access to South America. Then you have India, which is now a tech, booming area. India is actually like on the top end of tech right now. And then you have South Africa to have an African connection there as well. And it's like, that's a pretty powerful group right there. That's a pretty large encompassing group right there. And they look pretty pleased to be together, holding hands like that and linked up, And so when I look at that picture, I look at it as, these are individuals that want to take the dollar off of the reserve currency status. I mean, just seeing Russia and China like smiling like that and holding hands, that scares me. Just that. But then the fact that they have Brazil, India, and South America, or South Africa, I mean, that's pretty wild. And so that's where you get the term BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And they've been developing their own payment gateways and their own way of moving money around. And what happens if they decide to back their money to gold and then say, hey, all of our money is back to gold if you want to use BRICS money, whatever they decide to call it. And whatever I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but they might. It's like, that's what they're working on right now, and it's very clear that they're working on something like that. And at the same time, just like Tim just brought up, they're all buying gold. Russia and China have been accumulating gold since 2014, since we threatened them the first time to kick them off of SWIFT, and then we actually did weaponize SWIFT and kicked Russia off of SWIFT just recently, while we're sanctioning both of them. So yeah, they're not very happy with the dollar, and we are very much in debt. They look at the dollar and see we're 31 trillion plus in debt. Our leadership doesn't really even know their name. And it's pretty rough, So, I mean, when I look at that, it's hard to deny what they're doing with gold right now. And it's hard to deny that this individual here is playing with fire as he continues to raise rates on a dollar that is already having, the BRICS nations and things like that trying to undermine it. And at the same time, the Fed is playing with fire. It's like it's kind of a crazy scenario to see gold and silver at a really big discount at a really good price right now. All of them, platinum, palladium. I'm a big fan of platinum and palladium as well. All of them are extremely cheap right now. I think people will look back at this like 2 years, 3 years from now and go, how did I not know that? It was so obvious. The dollar was up at a ridiculously lofty level for the past year. It just been going straight up. It was clearly going to fall down with all of the developments happening worldwide as the Fed continues to play with the economy. It was just so obvious, I think people will look back on it and just wonder and be amazed that they didn't see this coming in the same way that we did. So it seems to be unfolding pretty fast, and I just don't see how the DXY can continue to strengthen with all the stuff going on around the world today, especially, again, with what Tim just brought up, that these central banks are continuing to accumulate more and more gold. It's just obvious. That's how I feel about it. It just is really, really clear what's happening here. I'm 16 and somebody says, Gibby says, I'm 16 and own a lot of silver and a couple grams of gold. When should I sell? If you're buying it right now with the intent of selling it at a higher price, I would personally rather build a business. You know, it's like, how great of a salesman am I? You know, it's like my salesman line should be like, you should accumulate more. Go to my auction house, mineralexchange.com, register to bid, and continue to buy more. You know, not financial advice, but no, if I was in the position where my net worth was like, and I'm not saying, I don't know where I was 16 years old. I didn't have too much money put together. I think I had, a few $1,000 put together or something like that when I was 16. But I don't know wherever you're at financially. But when you're 16, you're a young teenager and you're just trying to put some money together, the first thing I would do personally, not advice, personally, I would drop out of all school systems as fast as I possibly could. Most people don't know this about me, but I was so off the wall in high school and that I did all kinds of crazy stuff where I got in trouble like every single week, to the point where they're like, we're done with this Rob kid. We got to do something with him. What are we going to do with him? I don't know what to do with him. What do we do? He keeps acing all these tests, and he just keeps, messing with the teachers and stuff. And I got in so much trouble that they finally kicked me out of school and made me do independent studies. So that was where I kind of exited the matrix in a way, because I was allowed to do all of my homework and drop it off on Monday at the high school. I was allowed to literally get a packet of work given to me on Friday or whatever day it was, and then I could finish that work in like 30 minutes or an hour, and then just drop it off on Monday. And then I had the whole week to do whatever I wanted. And this was like right when the iPhone came out, because I was 16 when the iPhone came out, 15 when the iPhone came out. And I remember just being like, oh, I can just learn everything about this iPhone thing here and just sit on the internet all day. This is great. Just stayed at home all the time. So that would be the first thing I would do I would just do the same thing that I did in the past, where I got kicked out of high school and did independent studies. That was great for me. I was excited about that. But I would build a business. I wouldn't be even like, if I had a net worth of, say my net worth was like 2,000-3,000 or something like that, or wherever it is at that time when I'm a teenager, I would literally just put all of that into learning stuff that I actually wanted to learn, not the crap that they push on you. But I would be going in like getting books and things that I actually was interested in, like some of these books back here changed my life. Buckminster Fuller's book, incredible. That helped me with a lot of stuff. Think and Grow Rich, that's a good place to start. I mean, I would just go and get the knowledge that I actually wanted. I'd go to take master classes or whatever for a couple $100 and just study things that I actually wanted to learn how to build websites, learn how to do stuff like that. And then I would just build my own businesses. That's what I would do. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't even be in gold and silver if I was like a teenager, just trying to get myself together. I would build a business, get it cash flow positive, and then put the cash flow into places that I had custody of it, which is gold and silver. That's how I feel about it. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, and shameless plug, go follow me on Instagram at Rob Sultan on Instagram. You can see me, and I've made a pact with myself that I'm going to get good at skateboarding again. When I was younger, I used to skateboard like every single day. And recently I decided, I'm like, you know what? I could be better than I used to be back today. It's like, I'm 29. I could still skate. I got this. Started skateboarding again recently and posted some videos over there. But I posted a picture with a stack of 100-ounce bars. And that's what I consider a bank account. So I'll buy and sell those 100-ounce bars as I please. And same thing with the collectibles that I have. I have custody of my assets. Whenever I have extra cash flow, whenever I have extra money, I put it into my bank reserves, which is what I consider silver and gold. I consider that my bank account, my custody. It's not about number go up for me. It's about I have custody of an undervalued asset for me. That's how I feel about it. I'm not the type of person that goes, silver's going to be $1,000 an ounce and gold is going to go to $1 million, or wherever it is. I believe they're going to go up a lot, but I believe that it is the best possible option that I have to take custody of my assets. I don't have a better option. So I think that the problem becomes custody, and you have that problem once you have a cash flow positive business, or if you work for somebody and you're cash flow positive just off of your W-2 job. If you make 10 grand a month and your overhead's 5 grand, or you make 5 grand a month and your overhead's 2 grand, that extra 3 grand is what you can put into metals. That's how I feel about it. It's not something that I would like leverage, because the thing is, like, that's gambling. There's a lot of kids these days that have like a $5,000 net worth or something like that, and they decide like, oh, I'm going all in on these options on GameStop or something or whatever it is. And it's like, no, that's not the way you make it. I've made 100 grand, lost 100 grand, made 100 grand, lost 100 grand at least 5 times in my life. At least 5 times in my life. And the only time I kept it is when I went on the straight and narrow and built my own business. That's the only time I kept it. Every other time I lost it. I'd get it to 120 something thousand. Oh, I'm the options trading extraordinaire, and lose it all and go back down to zero, or negative. So it's like I'm less about the gambling, more about building foundation, more about building out the economy. More and more people need to start building stuff in the U.S. More and more people need to be building businesses. They're teaching kids. Like, I didn't know how to build a company. Where was QuickBooks 101 class? You really dropped the ball there, U.S. education system. That would have been a good one. QuickBooks 101. I had to take a crash course in QuickBooks when the auction house started growing as fast as it is. And it's like, okay, invoicing 101, QuickBooks 101, how to hire bookkeepers, Well, should I be an S corporation? What is an S corporation? What is a Section 179? How do you get a Section 179 card? Oh, your car's over 6,000 pounds. You can use it as an entire write-off. Oh, sweet. How much is a Tesla Model X? Like these different things. Like, I didn't realize that you can have all of these different write-offs and things with the business. And like, they don't teach you this in school because they want you to be a W-2 employee. They want you to get that W-2 because they take the juice right off the top. Now I'm going to start. If I drop too much facts here, I'm going to get kicked off here. All right. So I'm passionate about this subject, about the college subject. And I wish I could go back to 16 and know what I know now. But yeah, so Beto just went to my Instagram, at Rob Sultan on Instagram. Again, shameless plug, go check it out. But if you want to see what I like, what I do myself, what I buy myself, if I have an extra 70 grand in the bank or whatever, and at that time I had a good chunk of extra money, and I'm like, you know what? 2,100 ounces of silver sounds like a good place to park some money, park some money there. I mean, granted, a lot of the pictures that I have on my Instagram, I don't own it. Like a lot of the bars are actually consignments for the auction house. But it's still, that's what I do. Whenever I have extra money, I put it in bricks of silver. But it's not like I put all of my capital in silver. It's not like I put all of it into these places. I don't have all of my money in Bitcoin. The reason why I never had to sell any of my Bitcoin, even when it fell, is because I didn't put myself in a position where I needed to sell. The reason I didn't have to sell my silver when it fell at the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't put myself in a position where I needed to sell my reserves. I didn't do that because I always was busy building my business and busy using cash flow and excess cash flow to buy those assets. And now what I care about is like one of my good friends tells me about like some investing ideas and, this crypto or this stock or whatever it is. And the truth is, I just want to be building stuff. Like, I'm in a position right now where I have more resources than I need to build what I'm building. And I just want to continue to put all my resources on building stuff. So if you're interested in clothing, if you're interested in, having a restaurant, if you're interested in, whatever it is that you're interested in, the person who started Chipotle just wanted to make really good burritos. They're like, I make great burritos on this college campus here. People really like them. We use all organic ingredients. Boom. Blew it up into a multi-billion-dollar situation. I think that guy's a billionaire from making burritos. Whatever it is that you want to do it. And fail a lot, go fail a lot, go spend that money, failing. That's what they don't teach you in school. They teach you for the fallback. Oh, but don't you want a fallback, Jimmy? You just want a fallback, right? Get $100,000 in debt, and then you'll have a stable job where you can get a 401k and retire when you're 70. Fallback. It's great. It's great. Then you see a guy, pulling up in a Ferrari, and you're like, that's for sure somebody that did that in a sketchy way. How did they get that? It's like, Don't think to yourself, oh, that's a college. You don't drive by a big mansion in Malibu and go, they did a fallback. They went to college for sure. They went that mansion right there in Miami on the beach. That person went to college for sure. They for sure did. It's like, anyway. I'm anti-college. I believe college is a total scam. And if people are out there that are fans of college, I'm sorry, I am not the guy for you because big chip on my shoulder, college is completely worthless to me. I think it is absolutely worthless. Anyway, just want to spread some knowledge. If I have a 16-year-old viewer, I wish I knew that when I was 16. Not advice. My opinion of what I would say to myself when I was 16. People listening, not advice. Tim Dobbins, I appreciate that. Tim Dobbins gave me a $10 super chat, says, thanks, Rob, you're the man. I appreciate that, Tim. Thank you. Beto says, nothing wrong spreading the knowledge. Oh, by the way, I mean, as we're in this live feed right now, there's literally, if I'm talking about building a business and everything, my idea about 29 now, I started in the precious metals business when I was 23, 24, mainly probably when I was like more 24 range. So what is that, 5 years ago? 5 years ago, I decided like, hey, I'm going to build an auction house. And a lot of people thought I was crazy when I said that. I said, I'm going to, like, I remember spending tens of thousands of dollars on a .com. Just on the .com. Just so I could own mineralx.com and mineralexchange.com. Because it was on my vision board that I was going to own that. I used to be the Mineral Exchange. And I said, nope, taking off the. It's really bothering me a lot. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to own mineralexchange.com and mineralx.com because I like SpaceX, MineralX. Anyway, turns out .coms are really expensive. Saved up enough money and I dropped and at the time, you know, that was a lot of money to me at the time. And I spent that on the .com because I wanted to build my business. So when somebody asked me, like, when they have, like, somebody earlier was talking about, you know, how many grams of gold should I have and when should I sell these grams and how many ounces of silver should I have and when should I sell it, sort of thing. If you're in that position where you need to ask those questions, I would build a business instead. I would build a business and then get cash flow together so that you can then have the problem. Precious metals, in my personal opinion, is when you have a problem. It should be I guess there's places for it too, but when you have a problem with cash flow and you want to be able to have custody of your assets and you don't want to leave your assets somewhere, that's where you should be putting it, in my opinion. So that's how I look at precious metals and collectibles. That's just my personal take. A lot of people might think different, where it's like, hey, my net worth is 10 grand. I want it all in silver bars. I don't personally subscribe to that. I subscribe to my net worth is 5 grand, 10 grand. I'm going to build a business and I'm going to go all in on it. And I'm either going to fail or I'm not, or I'm either going to fail or I'm going to learn a lesson, one or the other. But that's how I look at it myself when it comes to that. And I hope that helps some people out there. These are actually super rare bars from Australia. I'm curious what those end up going for. That's a rare bar as well. This one's at 5. That's about in line with what actually, some people will see that and think that's crazy, you know, but 5-ounce silver bar for $500, that's crazy. But no, that's actually a pretty good deal for that specific type of bar. Same thing with this Harrington's, actually at a good price. That one went higher than I was expecting. I guess those are being more collected these days. These ABCs, I can see why those are sought after. It's a super sought after bar as well. What's crazy to me is that gold bar isn't moving. We got to see some movement on that. That's a rare bar right there. That's crazy. That's a good deal on that thing. This is one of those king. So China, only one, the earliest, there's 8 houses that were allowed to import-export bullion bars back pre-2002 into China, and King Fook was the first one that was allowed, and this is one of those bars, the King Fook. And it's FOOK algorithm. I should probably just say King Bar. I'm going to be careful with that. But it's a certain type of company. That's how you say it. It's like that. But anyway, that's pretty much it. If you put the 10% on there, that's like at 10 grand, and that's a 6-ounce gold bar. Pretty good deal on this thing. I actually reached out to them and got confirmation that it was, in fact, the right bar. And these are the kind of the really the rare one is, they're both extremely rare. Like, you never see these, but this is the one that people understand with that company. This one here, these actually, the last auction on one of these went for like, I think 17,000 for this one. Same size bar, same size everything, and it's the same bullion house, except this one's actually with a Johnson Matthey London, which I find to be more rare. And so that's an opportunity right there. That's a really cool bar. But yeah, that's ending literally within the next hour. So it's pretty intense. But yeah, down to the last 12. While we're doing this live stream, down to the last 12 auctions. So We'll see where things end. They were the I'm curious where that one ends up too, and same thing with the Engelhard London. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. But anyway, I just wanted to go live to talk about the market and talk about what's going on in gold and silver right now. And to be honest with you, I was expecting silver to give a little bit more back than it did. And something I'm seeing now, specifically with the metals dealers that I know in the world, they seem to be trying to sit on the sidelines right now to find out what the premiums are going to be. That's what I see happening right now, where the metals dealers are actually holding on to their reserves. Like they have some silver in the reserve, and it's just, they're wanting to like wait it out to find out what the actual premium is going to be. If silver spikes up 7%, usually people aren't in a rush to sell. Usually they want to sit around and say, okay, how much of a premium? The premium was +5. Is it still +5? Is it down to +4? Is it up to +6? What is the premium right now? So the market is trying to feel it out. And metals are in a very unique place right now where the market is trying to figure out what is the true premium of silver? What is the true premium of gold, especially when we have big days where it jumps up 7%. That's when we're trying to figure out what the premiums are. And that's when we're kind of gauging. And that's why what I'm building right now is actually going to be very helpful in the future as we continue to put more and more types of silver and gold on there. We'll see what the true premiums really are, what the free market is willing to pay at that time, at that week. So that's what I'm excited about. But really, that's what I see happening with silver and gold right now is I think that metals dealers are not going to be really in a rush to sell. I think a lot of the metal dealers around the world are going to be sitting on the sidelines and trying to figure out what's going on in the market right now because of the DXY. If just $2 on the DXY caused this, if we go pull this chart, just a tiny $2 drop in the DXY caused silver to go from under 19 to just under 21. That was from a $2 drop in the DXY. What happens if we see a $10 drop? That's the question I ask myself. What happens if we see a $10 drop? And by the way, the federal funds effective rate, we go here. This is the jump, because keep in mind, this isn't even showing the latest rate hike. This isn't even showing it. This is still at 3. They raised it 75 basis points, so it's actually right here. It's actually up here. So that crazy sharp trajectory, do you guys see any, like it never has this type of a trajectory. You go back in time on this chart. The trajectory of this is just, it's such a sharp jump that you see them, they were slowly, gradually raising it by like 0.1, 0.2, just slowly raising it. And this time they just sharply spiked it and they're jumping it all the way up to 4% in the middle of a recession. But they're being cute with us, and they probably called St. Louis Fed.org and said, look, you can't put the gray line yet. You can't put it yet. We're not in a recession. We changed the definition here because we don't want to admit that we're in a recession. So we changed the definition. Don't show the gray line. I know you showed the gray line everywhere else that it falls under the definition, but even though we're in a recession, we're not going to show it. Please don't show it. All right? We told you not to. Don't show it. It's like, because we said so. Why? Because we said so. Reminds me, it's like teachers in high school. Because we said so. Even if we're wrong, we said so. Anyway, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. And if we're seeing the DXY fall with something that is supposed to strengthen the dollar, what happens next? It's like, I don't know how much more the economy can take. What's interesting, we haven't talked about the overall stock market yet, but the stock market is still, in my opinion, I know this is a big drop in the stock market, but when you pull back that chart and you go back, 5 years, you can see that the S&P has plenty of room to fall. At the beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020, this time right here, the bottom on the S&P 500 was 2,200. And this was just like this was obviously the entire world got shut down. So yeah, it took a very steep drop, but I don't think that we've seen the effects of an entire market collapse yet. And we could very well see the S&P fall down. I remember when I should pull up old videos and talk about, because I was talking when the S&P was up around these levels here, I was saying we could easily see the S&P back under 4,000. People thought I was crazy back then, and I really do think we could see the S&P fall back down to at least to pre-pandemic levels, down to 3,300-ish, somewhere in that range. And if it continues to fall, where is this money going to go? Where is the money from the stock market selling off more and more and more? And by the way, the market hasn't even felt the brunt of it yet. If they continue to raise rates, it's going to cause the market to crash. And the market, it's crashed a little bit. I mean, some people would consider this a lot, but I consider that a little bit. I think the S&P could easily fall under 3,000. It could easily get down to these levels here. And I think it's a matter of time. And when it does do that, where are those dollars going to go? It seems to me like we might actually see a detachment, because what was interesting is, as you can see, the stock market isn't open. The gold and silver market is open, but the stock market isn't open. Obviously, it doesn't open until Monday at 6:30 or 9:30 Eastern. But the market closed just barely kind of flat for the day. Even like some of the notable companies like Tesla, for example, was actually down 3%. Apple was down a little bit at the close, but S&P basically was flat pretty much. And at the same time, this is the same day. This is the same day that the S&P closed 1.36% up. The silver was up 7%. So silver's up 7% at the same day when the stock market is kind of flat, and kind of, it was up a lot. And then the Fed said we're raising the rate 75 basis points, and then it dropped and went flat. But silver kept its gain. So that is a detachment there. So if we see more of that happening in the future, that's going to be very, very interesting for precious metals. Seeing what the correlation is with the overall market, because if I'm right and the S&P does crash further and it goes down to the 3,000 level and maybe even further down than that, then it could bring down precious metals with it, or there isn't any options on where for that money to go. So we see more similar situations like we saw on Friday, that metals skyrocket while the stock market goes down, because there just isn't anywhere to put those dollars, and metals are extremely undervalued right now. So we could see that opposite correlation that we didn't see in 2009. It could be a completely different wild card scenario. All I know is this: I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if I didn't have any precious metals right now. I'm not trying to time it out perfectly. I just continue to compile and continue to add to my reserves. And I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if I was trying to time it out perfectly. And I was hoping, okay, if the stock market crashes and then it brings silver down to 15, then I can get in at the perfect time at 15. But realistically, from being a metals dealer, I can tell you the premiums would jump. If you're trying to time it out and you're waiting for the silver market to go down, premiums would jump in that scenario. So it really wouldn't even make sense. You just want to, in my opinion, you just want to be compiling, with your excess capital and have custody of it. That's how I feel of it personally. Brian says, people don't know what to think when you give it to them as a gift. I just tell them to put it away in a sock drawer and wait. That's good advice. It's funny because like I actually want to start making videos like that, like going around a college campus or something and being like, would you rather have this brick of silver or a chocolate bar? I've seen that video a few times, and usually our people are like, oh, what am I going to do with silver? I like chocolate. It's like, I want to see if that's actually real or not. I'm just scared that I run across one of you out there and you're like, I'll take the silver bar. And it's like, oh, no, darn it. Yeah. But it's funny how many people don't understand it. I didn't know about the gold standard. And when I was a waiter, this is back when I was like 22, 23, like six years ago-ish, I had no idea. I had no clue. I didn't know anything about the gold standard, didn't know anything about gold and silver, didn't know anything about the old coins, nothing. So the school system didn't teach me any of that until I went and learned it myself in my early 20s. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what plays out this before we end the live stream here. Maybe put some comments down there. I didn't miss any of those. Tim Dobbins was the last one. Okay. I don't like missing any of those super chats. I appreciate those. Thank you. Yeah, that was the guy. Mark Dice is the one who does those videos. It's hilarious. I want to recreate that myself to see it. Like, I want to know for myself, but it's like, is this really true? Does he actually do that? Anyway, maybe a few more comments. I want to see. So let's see some comments on what you think is going to happen next week. I want to see what's going to happen next week. On my Instagram, I'm able to do like those polls. And on YouTube, I'm able to do polls too, but I usually do them in my Instagram story. So follow me on Instagram at Rob Sultan on Instagram if you want to see what I post in the stories. I usually put a poll like, where do you think silver's headed? Where's this? And then we can see kind of what the broad market thinks of where silver's going and where's gold going, etc. But I want to see. We got some of the spammers in here. I gotta start actually like deleting those like. Do people fall for that? Do you guys? I mean, you see somebody says hot girls here. It's like, people actually fall for that. I want to know. If you fall for that, I mean, kind of deserve it, I guess. It's kind of crazy that people do fall for that. But yeah, I want to see, like, put some comments down there. If you where you think silver and gold are heading next week. I want to know where you guys think. Where does silver? Do you think silver is going to stay over 20? Do you think it's going to go under 20? What's your opinions? Put it in the comments now so I can see it before we end the live stream. I'm going to end the live stream, probably keep this one short at around an hour. We're at just over an hour right now. What time is it? Down sideways. Somebody says down sideways. First person to say where they think it's going to go. DL thinks it's going to be tanking after midterms. Are you saying the stock market or are you saying metals? Because as of right now, I actually thought silver was going to give back more of those gains. I mean, 7% up in a day is pretty wild. But it's kind of holding. I mean, keep in mind, this actually looks like a month-long chart or something like that. This is actually just from November 3rd. November 3rd to today, November 6th, we saw that big of a jump from 18.8 back over 20 to 20.50, and it's still holding. It's only down, 30 cents. So it's given back, of the 7%, it's given back 1.6%. So as of Friday morning, it's still up over 5%. So it's kind of holding some pretty strong gains. Same thing with gold. Gold's only given back, looks like, $10 of the $50 plus that it jumped up. So it hasn't given back too much of that gain. The DXY is starting to rebound too. It's so crazy to me how correlated the DXY is to precious metals right now. It's wild that it's like exactly correlated, which is what you want to see. I mean, if the DXY wasn't at like a lofty level right now, and it was like it didn't have as much room to fall as it does, it would scare me. But it's like it's so ripe to fall and pull back 5-10 points, and we just saw what happens when it falls back like $1.50, $2. I mean, do you think that it's going to continue that trajectory? It's going to go up. It went up what's that, $20 since May of 21? It went up $20. Do you think it's going to go up another $20? I don't. I think it's going to pull back down. And when it does, where do you want to have your money parked? I want to be in precious metals. I want to see those 7% gains that we just saw on Friday to start compounding. Pranav Seth says, Rob, what are your thoughts on platinum at the moment? I think it's like at this price, they're practically giving it away. They're practically giving it away at this price. I mean, to me, I think platinum is extremely undervalued. I also think palladium is extremely undervalued. The market, I don't think, understands that Russia has kind of a stranglehold on both of those metals. And when we brought up the BRICS nations, ironically enough, where are the two places where those precious white metals come from, platinum and palladium? They come from South Africa and they come from Russia, both part of the BRICS nations. Literally, where's platinum and palladium from? Go look it up. South Africa, Russia. It's literally from those two places. Majority, more than 50% of the palladium and platinum in the world is from South Africa and Russia, and they're both there fist bumping each other. It's going to be not easy to get your hands on platinum and palladium in the future. So, yeah, I'm definitely bullish on those two metals, and I always have been. It's kind of crazy to see them at those prices, to be honest with you. I think palladium should be up a lot higher than it currently is. But anyways, that's the video, everybody. If you're not registered to mineralexchange.com, what are you doing? Go there to at least watch it, just to watch it. You don't even have to bid. If you want to bid, it's $1 to verify your account forever. You just got to prove you're not a bot, and you can bid. And there's actually a lot of really good deals there. You can just check the auction history, but check it out. Mineralexchange.com is my company. By the way, it's not like an advertisement. I own the company. I own 100% of it. I know I keep saying that. I don't have to put in my videos paid advertisement in the corner or whatever, so that's kind of nice. So that's my company, mineralexchange.com. Again, I give away all the price history, and if you want to learn anything, if you want to know, if you want to look up Engelhard silver bar, you can search that right there, and you can see literally every single bar that we've ever sold that fits your search criteria. So you can search. Imagine like the thing is, it's like none of these companies are doing it the same way, in my opinion. I know that's my baby, and I'm gonna pat my, I'm always gonna say that this is the best one. But really, if you think about it, it's pretty cool to be able to search anything and you immediately see all the live auctions that fit that search criteria and all the ones that sold in the past that fit that search criteria. So it's super easy to navigate the website. And as we start adding more and more, so if you want to basically search, 100-ounce bars, you want to see what 100-ounce bars have been going for, just search 100-ounce. And don't put a space, 100 OZ, all one word, and you'll see all the hundreds that we've ever done. You put, 50 OZ, you'll see all the 50s we've ever done. 3 OZ, you'll see all the 3 ounces we've ever done. I just added this feature recently, kind of silently added that to the website, and I continue to evolve the website and make it better and better and better. And that is one of the recent things that I did, is add that. So you can literally search every single auction we've ever done, and there's over 861 of them. So if you're out hunting, I wish I had this. Back when I was like a pawn shop hunter and I'd go through different shops around the country and stuff trying to find these rare bars, if I had a feature where I could just look up Foster silver bar on the fly and see what it was going for, that would be invaluable to me. And I'm giving away all the price history for free. So if you want to study what all this stuff goes for, you can literally just use that search feature and see it all right there. So I hope that earns your registration, just that alone. So if you register, just go to mineralexchange.com, make an account. It's free to make an account. If you want to bid, it's $1 just to prove that you're not a bot. It's not for a profit. It's just to prove you're not a bot. And then you're able to bid on everything indefinitely. So check it out. All kinds of stuff. I mean, this is like multiple pages of stuff that we've done. We can go to page 3 here. Just keep going. You can see all the stuff that we've auctioned. A lot of high-end stuff too. Like this was a bar this is an actual authentic U.S. assay office bar that we sold a little while back for a little bit under $5,000. Quite a few cool bars up in there. Anyway, check it out. mineralexchange.com. Appreciate it. But yeah, I wanted to make a video and talk about the overall precious metals market. Where do I personally think the metals market is going? There's some comments in here that there's kind of mixed opinions on it. On my Instagram, I'll put another poll up and see what the broad market thinks. When I did put the poll up, I think it was on Friday, I put a poll up saying, do you think silver will go back under 20 anytime soon? And like 75% of people said yes. So if you want to see that in real time, just go follow me on Instagram at Rob Sultan. And in my story, I usually will put the polls in there so you can actually participate in that. And we can kind of learn from each other a little bit. So check it out there, Rob Sultan on Instagram. My personal thoughts on it is it was very interesting to see the Fed do what they did, continue to raise rates. That's terrible news for the stock market, but that actually, in theory, should strengthen the dollar like we saw in the past. It should show strengthening in the dollar. And it didn't. The dollar fell 2 points. So that's interesting to me because when the stock market plummets, the dollar will plummet for sure with the stock market. It's not like the dollar is going to skyrocket with the stock market plummeting. So to me, I think it's a signal that the economy is about to suffer. And if the stock market crashes and it brings down the dollar, we might see precious metals not fall with the broad market like it used to. Precious metals might detach in the way it's supposed to, where the stock market falls down, the dollar falls down, and precious metals jump up. Especially the other thing, the wild card in this entire scenario is none of us can deny that if next week the BRICS nations decide to announce, gold-backed currencies, which it seems like they're really working on that right now. They've been accumulating gold for a long time, for the past 10 years, been accumulating gold, and now they have all this gold in their vaults of their central banks, and they're sick of the dollar being the reserve currency. And then you also have Powell coming out there, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, saying there's room for another reserve currency. Okay, all of this is really adding up for the dollar to have a big pullback. And that's a wild card scenario. If that happens, if they do have, some sort of gold-backed currency and they start pushing that, what's going to happen? I don't know. It seems to me like it would skyrocket gold and silver prices, but what do I know? I'm just a talking chimp on YouTube, What do I know? That's how I feel about it, though. I feel like that one reason alone and the custody problem is why I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if I didn't have precious metals in my vaults. That's how I feel. So is it going to skyrocket tomorrow? Is it going to skyrocket, in a month? I have no idea. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do want to have a hedge against the dollar. I know that much. If I'm going to say something with certainty, I think the dollar is undervalued in my opinion, or overvalued in my opinion. I think the dollar is extremely overvalued. I think that it's I think it's the dollar milkshake theory is the one that's been talked about a lot. I think the milkshake is all the way at the top and it's about to fizzle down. That's how I feel about it. And I want to have a hedge against the dollar. And that's what precious metals is to me. And I think we can start seeing, I mean, if a $2 drop in the DXY jumps silver up 7%, again, I've said this a bunch of times in this live stream. What happens when a $10 drop comes in? What happens when a $20 drop comes in? How much will silver go up in that scenario? Probably quite a bit. Probably quite a bit. That's the video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out my website, mineralexchange.com, if you haven't. And I will see you at the next video. Signing out.